HR Basics is a series of short courses designed to highlight what you need to know about a particular human resource management topic. In today's HR Basics, we define equal employment opportunity, exploring the law, discrimination in the workplace, and the agencies responsible for preventing it. Equal employment opportunity, known as EEO, is the term used to describe the laws, regulations, and processes related to fair treatment of employees. Basing employment decisions on factors other than worker qualifications is generally illegal in the United States. The costs of litigation, penalties, and harm to the company's reputation can be substantial when violations occur. Discrimination means treating people differently. We choose to treat people differently every day. So discrimination becomes problematic when people are not treated fairly because characteristics they possess have nothing to do with their ability to perform a particular job. In this course, we'll cover EEO laws, concepts of discrimination, and the regulatory agencies responsible for anti-discrimination in employment. Equal employment opportunity means that employment decisions must be made on the basis of job requirements and worker qualifications. To begin, let's focus primarily on regulations in the form of equal employment opportunity or EEO laws and other regulations related to fair treatment of employees. Equal employment opportunity laws prohibit specific types of job discrimination in the workplace. EEO laws and executive orders are intended to eliminate employment discrimination. The EEOC oversees compliance with these laws. EEO laws exist on the federal, state, and local levels and are created following the same basic model as other laws. The primary objective of anti-discrimination legislation is to ensure that individuals are given equal opportunity in the workplace. Title VII of the Civil Rights Act outlaws employment discrimination on the basis of race, color, national origin, sex, and religion in any aspect of employment, from hiring to firing and everything in between. These traits are called protected characteristics and referred to as protected classes. With the enactment of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, specifically Title VII, workers of all backgrounds were provided a more level playing field in terms of employment opportunities. Since then, a number of additional laws and executive orders have been implemented to prohibit illegal discrimination in the workplace. Non-compliance with anti-discrimination laws and executive orders can lead to negative consequences, including fines to the company and charges of discrimination that result in costly, time-consuming legal battles. Employment discrimination is a form of discrimination based on protected characteristics by employers. Unlawful discrimination occurs when these decisions are made based on protected characteristics, which are individual attributes such as race, age, sex, disability, or religion that are protected under EEO laws and regulations. A protected class is a group of people with a common characteristic who are legally protected from employment discrimination on the basis of that characteristic. These traits are called protected characteristics. Protected classes are created by both federal and state law. For more information about state-specific protected classes, check with your state department responsible for discrimination. Federal protected classes include race, color, religion, national origin, sex, age, disability, veteran status, genetic information, and citizenship. However, in some rare circumstances, the very nature of the job requires you to choose candidates based on what are otherwise protected characteristics. The law allows for employment considerations through what is known as a bona fide occupational qualification, or BFOQ exception. A BFOQ exists in narrow circumstances when a protected characteristic can legally be used to make an employment decision. A BFOQ requires a business necessity, which includes a relationship to a legitimate business goal and is essential to business survival. It's important to understand that employers can never use race or skin color as a BFOQ. One of the best ways to understand BFOQ exceptions is to look at examples where the courts have allowed what would otherwise be considered discriminatory practices. mandatory retirement ages for public mass transit drivers and pilots, churches can legally hire only members of their church or clergy and reject other religions, and actors and models of a particular protected characteristic or class for the purpose of authenticity. Discriminatory practices can typically be grouped under one of four categories: disparate treatment, where an individual is treated differently because of the characteristic that defines the protected class; disparate impact, a more subtle and usually unintentional form, also known as adverse impact; harassment, which is unwanted and unwelcome treatment because of a protected class; and retaliation, which prohibits employers from retaliating against an employee for making a complaint of harassment or discrimination. Two main enforcement bodies for EEO laws are the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, known as the EEOC, and the U.S. Department of Labor, or DOL, in particular the Office of Federal Contract Compliance Programs, known as the OFCCP. The EEOC is responsible for developing guidelines and overseeing compliance with most anti-discrimination laws. The OFCCP is responsible for the same activities relative to executive orders. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC, is the agency responsible for enforcing compliance with anti-discrimination laws such as the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Age Discrimination Act, and the Americans with Disabilities Act. The EEOC enforces employment laws for employers in both private and public workplaces. For example, the EEOC recently outlined a strategic enforcement plan encouraging companies to develop fair criminal background screening practices, establish equitable pay for both men and women, and take steps to reduce workplace harassment. The Office of Federal Contract Compliance Programs, OFCCP, is the agency responsible for developing guidelines and overseeing compliance with anti-discrimination laws relative to executive orders. The OFCCP enforces employment requirements set out by executive orders for federal contractors and subcontractors. Many states have enforcement agencies to ensure compliance with state employment laws. Compliance can become complex for companies that operate in multiple states. Equal employment opportunity is employment that's not affected by illegal discrimination. It's a broad-reaching concept that essentially requires employers to make status-blind employment decisions. Status-blind decisions are made without regard to an individual's personal characteristics.